Hi everyone, and welcome to part 8 of the Door to Enchantia colour along. So I've just zoomed out to the whole double page spread. As you can see, I've actually coloured the other side of the page that we're doing. Just fancied doing it really. I was watching TV and I thought instead of having this blank spread next to the one that we're doing, why don't I just colour it in and it should be a little bit nicer and more colourful. So I used Prismacolors and a white gel pen and a few bits of gold gel pen. Nothing major, nothing, you know, incredibly skilled or anything, just coloured them in. So yeah, hope you like that. So today we're going to be concentrating on the mushrooms and the things that are around the bottom here, the stones as well, and hopefully the lanterns. So I've picked a few colours out for the mushrooms. I've got some blues picked out. I've got the indigo blue, the Copenhagen blue and the true blue. And then my reds and oranges are Scarlet Lake, Poppy Red, Orange, Yellowed Orange and Canary Yellow. So we'll be using those combos on our mushrooms. First thing we're going to do though is colour in those ink spots that we left last time. So here I'm zooming in, and as you can see we left these spots here because they're the ink drops from the butterfly wings that have fallen on the ground. So very simply all we're going to do here is just colour them in with the black pencil. Completely solid, nothing arty-farty, just solidly colour them in. And at the end of this colour along, on the very last video when we're doing all of the white highlights on everything, we will come in and give them a nice little highlight so that they look shiny and inky. So I'm colouring all of these little patches in. I'm going to colour the little ones in as well, so it looks like the butterflies drop quite a bit of ink on the way out of the door. If you wanted to, you could use the larger patches as water puddles, same as we did last time. It's totally up to you. So quite simply we have our inky patches. Next we're going to move on to this mushroom here. Now I think we're going to do this in the reds and yellows that we've chosen. So what we're going to do first of all is get the darkest one, which is Scarlet Lake, and then start from the very bottom rim of the mushroom and just colour a straight line across. Now we've got 5 colours to use here, so I'm just thinking of splitting the space that we have in this mushroom into 5 sections. So keep that in mind whenever you're doing blending, how many pencils you have in the blend and how much room you've got to work with. You can try and gauge that, similar to how we did the background. It's much easier to get your colours consistent and, you know, the right amount of colour. So as with all of our blends, make sure that you leave a little hazy patch of very light colour at the top for the next one to merge into. It's much easier than just doing it line by line with quite a solid line, and it looks like a much smoother, softer blend. So once you've got your coat of Scarlet Lake down, we'll move on to the Poppy Red. And these two should blend really nicely together. The Poppy Red is quite a lot lighter and it's going into sort of orangey rather than pure red, but it is very similar in tone to the Scarlet Lake, so they do blend really nicely together. And we're going to do exactly the same all the way up, going from dark to light. Don't worry if you get some colour on these little dots. We can always go in with a white gel pen and make them look pure white again, so don't worry about that. So I hope you've all had a nice weekend. Mine's been pretty uneventful. My husband was poorly, he's got a bit of flu-like symptoms, so been looking after him. And obviously the kids, they're both fine now. Max is well. Thank you for everybody who asked if he was better. He is now completely 100% better, so super happy that he's not got that horrible temperature or anything anymore. So going on to the orange. So, oh, the orange is breaking. See how far I can get without this nib breaking. Not very far, evidently. So my mum's cat's gone missing over the weekend, and she was out last night looking for her cat, calling her and everything and shaking the biscuit box and all that kind of stuff, what you do. But she's not seen her since Friday, so I've had to, this morning, make a missing cat poster and post it all around Facebook and the local area groups and stuff. So I'm hoping that the cat turns up soon. I actually got Mum the cat over a year ago, a couple of years ago maybe now. And she was just a little kitten then, for, you know, 8 weeks old. And this is breaking again. Man. Yeah, so 8 weeks old when she got her, and we were told that she was a girl, and we named her Jenny after my nana. And then as Jenny grew, we realised it was a boy, but obviously it was a bit late to change the name, so my mum has a male cat called Jenny, and also another male cat called Jesse, but he's still sticking around. He's coming for the food every day and everything, but Jenny isn't, so Mum's pretty worried. So we've put out the search party poster. Hopefully somebody will get back saying that they've seen him around somewhere. It's just odd because normally if any of the cats go missing, it's Jessie. She's quite a cavalier kind of cat. He doesn't, I keep saying she because of the names and I get mixed up. He's not a homely cat. He's one of these that likes to do his own thing, so he often sort of goes away for a few days and comes back, but Jenny never has, so Mum's pretty worried. Moving on now to the yellowed orange. And you should have just a bit of room left at the top for your final colour, which is canary yellow. Remember, especially on this section, to leave that hazy edge, because canary yellow and yellowed orange do blend together, but they do need a little bit of help with the edge to make sure that it's seamless. So usually I would do the blend from sort of the left bottom corner going up to the lightest on the right top corner, but I'm just thinking with the lantern that it might just be brighter on top of the mushroom than it would be at one certain side, so that's why I've chosen to do it in this way. So super quick and really nicely coloured mushroom. We've got 5 colours on there and it's made a really nice gradual blend. Now underneath the mushroom, let me just get my pencil case out. If you have any of the French greys, they will work fine. If not, ginger root is a really good one, and a bit of artichoke. So let's go with those colours. So what we're going to do for the stem of the mushroom is we're just going to put down some ginger root quite lightly over the whole thing. And then with the artichoke, we're going to colour a little bit of shadow underneath where the rim of the mushroom would put the stalk into shadow. So just underneath, above this window. And just grade it down a little bit until it blends into the ginger root. So it's just a quick sort of look of shadow rather than doing anything particularly skilled or difficult. We're not doing any sort of difficult blends. And you can always put some more ginger root there just to blend it back in. But it's just so when you're looking at the page, it sort of tricks the eye that it is a 3D object. And we'll do exactly the same on the bottom part of the stem. And as you can see, it sort of looked like the bottom part's going underneath the top part, so we can do the shadow in exactly the same place. There we are. Now you can take your darkest of the colours, which is the artichoke, and pretty much colour most of the inner bit of the mushroom. So we've got sort of a triangular part like that, and exactly the same on the other side. And then with the ginger root, just doing the very, very bottom edge, just to show a little bit of shadow again underneath the hood of the mushroom. And that's pretty much it. If you want to darken up the shadow, you can do, just go in a little bit heavier with your artichoke and make sure that you use the ginger root to blend it out again. But that's pretty much the whole technique of getting a bit of shadow and shading on mushrooms. So you can also use these two colours if you wanted to just do this little bit of a chimney. And I'm just doing darker on the side that's furthest away from the lantern, and then the ginger root as we get closer to the lantern. Again, it's just tricking the eye. It's nothing, you know, scary, or, you know, there's some huge technique that's going to take ages, and lighting and shading and highlights and light sources, etc, etc. It's just very, very simple, as everything I do usually is. So thank you again to everybody who has sent in their pictures of the page so far. You've all done amazingly well. They all look incredible, and I'm just super, super excited that you all are doing this with me still on part 8. I've had a lot of comments from people saying not to worry about how many parts it takes or how long each video is. So I will certainly try and keep that in mind and not worry too much about that. So while we've got these two colours out, you may want to go and do the same over on these mushrooms, which are over here. You can do the stalks differently if you want to, but because these are sort of very, very tiny bits of detail, I'm just going to keep it simple and use the same sort of colours for the stems. So you don't really need to have any special technique on this. Just do a little bit of the artichoke, a little bit of the ginger root. The stems really are very, very narrow, so you've not really got a lot of room to play about and mess about anyway, so you can just do your artichoke on one side and then the ginger root on the other. No blending required, just together, and that will again trick the eye. So we'll just put some artichoke underneath this one while we have it out, because we can see the underneath of this mushroom there. And that's fine, so we can put those back. Now I was thinking of different colours for these mushrooms. So I got my blues out because I thought we haven't got any blue on this so far apart from a little bit in the water. So I thought let's do a blue gradient. I think I'm going to be adding a bit of blue into this centre section just to pop out a bit. But I've got the indigo blue here. And again with the lantern, I'm thinking we're going to be seeing a lot more light on the top of the mushroom. So we'll start with the indigo at the bottom, exactly the same as we did with the red mushroom. I'm doing a camera check, make sure we are still on. Yep. So these three colours blend together really nicely. So we've got the indigo and then we've got the Copenhagen. And then at the top we've got the True Blue, which is a really, really nice bright blue. And these three colours are just perfect together. I can show you another work in progress where I've used these colours and it actually gave me the idea for the combination. So a bit further on down the book, I've started, where are we? This page. So let me just zoom out a little bit. And this is the page where Ivy goes into the scary tunnel and imagines lots of different monsters and things hiding in, you know, the little crevices and the nooks and crannies. So what I did here was I used 3 different colours of brown on the inner edges of each box, so I treated them as individual sections rather than one large page. I then blacked out all of the centre lines between the boxes just to make it look a little bit darker and more scary, and the black also made the browns look a bit more glowy as well. And then here's where I used the indigo, Copenhagen and True Blue combination on this monster's belly, because I thought that contrasted really well against the flames. And yeah, so really having fun doing this page at the moment. This is just one that I'm doing on my own while I'm watching telly, or you know, when I've got a few minutes to sit down and do a bit of colouring. So this is the one I'm working on. I'm actually doing quite a lot in Ivy at the moment. It's a book that I sort of put down for ages, similar with all Johanna's books, and then I pick it up and then I end up doing about 10 pages in one go. So yeah, having fun at the moment with that. And I think I showed you everything else that I was working on. Yeah, pretty sure I showed you everything. So let me know in the comments if you're colouring any of the other pages from this book, or anything really. Tell me what you're colouring, what book, if you're using different kinds of pencils, etc. Let me know what you're colouring at the moment apart from this colour along. So with this top bit of the mushroom, we're going to go back in with the indigo at the bottom. And again, just grading it up for the next colour to come into. I call it a little hazy edge, but I think you know what I mean. Now what you can do also to deepen this colour, which I did on the monster's belly that I just showed you, is to put some black at the very, very bottom. And that again really brightens the contrast, and it just makes the lighter colours pop out. We've spoke about this in previous videos, where if you use white on a page, it can make the colours pop, especially if your other colours are really sort of contrasted. So that's what we'll probably do on here as well. Let's zoom in a tiny bit more. Okay, that's better. This is why I absolutely love using Prismas, because you don't have to sit here for ages trying to get a beautiful blend. I think Polychromos are the best coloured pencil out there in terms of quality, but as for ease of colouring, Prismacolors all the way. You don't need to have any kind of special skill or take a load of time colouring. You just get straight in there and they pretty much blend themselves. So that's why I've used Prismas on this colour along. Now as you can see, I'm just going in with the black at the bottom, doing a very narrow rim, and we'll do the same on this kind of scalloped edge as well. Now at the moment that looks kind of really black and not blended, so we're going to take our indigo and just go over the very edge of that black and make sure that it's all blended in and looks like a far more natural shade rather than a linear sort of black at the bottom. When you've done that, you can see that the contrast of having that black on there makes the mushroom look even more, you know, nice. And there we go. So that's one mushroom done. Now I'm thinking what we're going to do for the other mushrooms. I haven't planned this out. I'm thinking we should do another blue one because I don't want to go crazy with all loads of different colours. So let's just do this little one over here, exactly the same. Obviously we're going to need far narrower lines because it's much smaller than that one we've just done. So again, it's just thinking about sectioning the space between how many colours you've got. So 1/3 of it is going to be the indigo because we've got 3 colours to work with. And we'll do exactly the same on this top bit. And you can definitely go in with a bit of that black if you wanted to. It's quite a small area, but we'll see how it turns out. So that's pretty good. Just on camera there. I'll tell you what, I bet I've got people telling me off all over. Move the damn book. Okay. So, yeah, exactly the same as we just did. Now I'm thinking we should also have some red and yellow over here because we've got it over there. We want to tie it in together. And also they're the colours that I've got out at the moment, so we might as well make use of them. So let's bring in our 5 reds again, and oranges and yellows. And we'll start at the bottom of this one with the red. And then the poppy. The orange. I had to think for a second then. The yellowed orange. And finally our canary yellow. So these are super quick, but they look really effective because we've not just coloured them in solidly. We're sort of trying to make something out of every single detail on this page and just taking our time with it. So we get the maximum effect. So just adding in a little bit more stronger, darker red at the bottom there for that contrast, blending it with the poppy. When you're happy with the seamlessness of the blend, you can move on. So let's think about other colours for these mushrooms. Let me get my pack of pencils. So I keep my Prismacolors in this case. Let's zoom out. I did keep my Ergo Softs in this case, but I've put them in the really big cumbersome case that I used to have my Prismas because I hardly ever use the Ergo Softs and I use these a lot. So let's have a look at some colours. We've got blue and we've got red already. We've got tons of green, so I don't want any green. So what about purple? Let's have a look at our purples. So we can go for a sort of pinky reddish purple like the dahlia and the lavender, or we can go for a bluish purple like the violets and the ultramarines. So because we've got a lot of pinks on the page, let's go for the bluish purples. Let's pick out the violet and the Parma violet. And maybe, I was thinking the lilac, but they're really similar, the Parma violet. So let's pick out the grey lavender and see if we can blend those in together. So zooming back in, let's go for this one that's got the spots on it. So we've got our violet at the bottom. Using that rule of thirds again. Then we go in with a Parma violet, which blends really nicely into the violet. Again, don't worry about the white spots, we can always put those back in. And when you've got your Parma violet down, we'll try this greyed lavender. Okay, so they blend really well actually. It just helps give a better gradient than just having the violet and the Parma violet. So let's put a bit more violet in the bottom. I feel like there's far too much of the middle colour on here. And again, just blending it in as we go upwards. Okay, so that looks pretty nice. Once you're happy with that, let's see what we're going to do. Let's make another one. Let's make this really tiny one purple as well. And then we'll get another couple of colours for this one. So... there we go. Now what shall we do for the very, very last mushroom that we have? Let's see. We could even do it purple again, but I don't know. Let's mix it up a little bit. So I'm putting these colours back. How about some raspberry? And let's see, raspberry and pomegranate. Okay, let's try raspberry, pomegranate and magenta. Let's see how they go together. We've only got a really tiny one to do anyway, so I don't think we can make much of a mess at this point. So we've got our raspberry, which is the darkest. Exactly the same. You must be so bored of this technique by now. But exactly the same. Raspberry and then pomegranate. And then magenta. Ooh, they are nice. Dark reddish pinks. Really like this combo. Lovely. Just going back in at the bottom, deepen that up a bit. There we go. So I've just noticed we've got this little rim underneath the red and orange mushroom. So let's get the artichoke and just fill that in. Now let's move on to the stones, the little rocks, the little pebbles that are all dotted around here. So I'm just going to put a few of these colours back so that I don't have pencils overtaking the entire desk. And so for these rocks we're going to need some greys. Now I'm thinking cool greys so that we are at the same sort of level as the stonework that we did around the arch. So let's have a look. Let's get our 90% cool grey, 70% cool grey, and let's skip one and go for our 30% cool grey. We don't want to have too much colours on these because they're really, really small. So we're going to skip one and hopefully get as good a blend as we can. So on these stones, we're going to do a C shape with the darkest colour on every single pebble. So the left-hand side of each one, C shape, C for Claire, colour with Claire. And when you've done the outline of that C shape, make sure you leave that hazy edge for the next colour. And we're going to do that on every single one. So this gives the impression of shadow and form without having to do anything too technical. Just remember to leave as much space as possible for the next two colours. We don't want to overtake it with this colour, this is quite dark. This just wants to be, like I say, an impression of a shadow. So again, over here we've got some more. These are a bit larger this time, so you can be a little bit thicker with your C. Just gauge it as best you can. I'm still not sure what to do about these sort of weird stony scallopy shapes on the steps of the doorway, so let me know if you've got any ideas for those. We could make them really bright and gemmy, like little gems set into the stone, or we could just do them grey and not really, you know, think about them too much, just that they're part of the design. So let me know what you want to do with those. Now I'm thinking we should do on these two stones here a backward C shape, because I'm just thinking about the light, and maybe we'd have shadow more on this side and shadow more on that side because of the lantern. So let's try it. So once you've got all your C shapes in place, you move on to the next darkest grey, which is the 70%, and just go into the hazy bit that we left and leave a little bit of a round space for the very last colour. So this is just to blend out that very, very dark grey that we just put down. So when you've got a fairly decent amount left for your last colour, you can leave that hazy edge. We'll do all these as well. And it really is quite easy to do because you're just doing a natural curve with your hand. And then with the 30% cool grey, we're just going to fill in everything that's left and make it look shiny and like the light's hitting it. And just blend in that very last grey that we put on. So if you want to go in and deepen up any of the other colours, again, you always can do. Some of them get lightened by the lighter colours that we blend them with, so it's often a case that you'll need to go back in and just darken it up and sharpen it a little bit. So we'll do these ones as well. Just literally filling in everything that's left with the lightest grey. It's a super simple technique, but it does really look, you know, effective with the lights and the shadows. I need to find another word that means effective because I'm conscious that I'm saying it quite a lot. So you should have some pretty cool rocky looking boulder type stones with a nice crisp shadowy edge which gradiates to the light hitting a certain side of the stone. So that is the technique for colouring stones. We've got a few more little pebbles down here, so I'm going to quickly go in. These won't take long at all because they're so small. also got one over here on the other side that I've missed. Next colour, and always just leave that white bit. So over the weekend I've been watching some TV. I watched the film Creep 2. So if you've seen Creep 1, if you haven't seen it, it's basically about this guy who advertises for someone to come to his house and do some filming for one day. So he's looking for like a videographer to do like a sort of autobiographical film of him, and he's going to pay them $1,000 and then, you know, that's it. So this guy turns up and there's no real information apart from what was on the ad. And this guy who he turns up to film is so weird and very creepy and really unsettling, in quite happy, jovial, but there's an underlying tone there. And obviously by the end we realise he's like this serial killer that's done it loads and loads of times and is just generally a complete weirdo who has no reason for what he does. And then Creep 2 is about the same thing, so he's lured someone else in to do his video, but she's a bit more of a match for him, and she doesn't actually believe, he tells her straight away, I'm a serial killer, and she doesn't actually believe him. And she's quite sort of confident and bolshy, and she thinks that she's just going to get some really good footage of the human nature and stuff like that. But yeah, he ends up going after her too, and it's really good actually. It's a found footage type documentary film, but it's not shaky or horrible or grainy like a lot of them are. It's really creepy and unsettling, so I would recommend Creep if you haven't seen it. I also watched a few episodes of Black Mirror from the new series, so if you haven't heard of Black Mirror, that's basically a series that's on Netflix, and it's all about technology and the dangers of technology and how it can take over your life. So it's really, really good. I would definitely recommend that. I think I might have recommended it before and I'm still going on about it, but it is good. It's worth the recommendation. So series 4, I think it is looking pretty good so far. I've got about halfway through. Now, before I carry on mumbling about that, let's see what we're going to do next. So I'm thinking about the doorways on this mushroom that we did, because we haven't actually done any of the window borders or anything like that. So I'm thinking with it being quite light colours that we've used, we should do them pretty dark to make them stand out. So let's go for the Copenhagen blue, because that will go really nicely with the reds and yellows, and it will also keep everything tied in. So just very simply going to solidly colour the outlines of all these windows. And also the doorway as well, let's just outline the entire thing. Quite heavy dark blue, and then just gradiate it into the middle. So just make it get lighter and lighter as I get into the middle of the door. There's not a lot of space to work with, so it's fairly simple. And as for the windows themselves, let's get that canary yellow and yellowed orange that we had out, and do the inner rim yellowed orange, and then the rest of it canary yellow, so it looks like there's some lights on in the house. And yeah, I'm hoping that this is not too zoomed in that it's not clear. Hopefully you can see everything okay that we've done there. Yeah, just to create the impression of some light in the house. So thinking about just adding a little bit more yellowed orange. I have to have super sharp pencils for this because the doorways and windows are so tiny. So we've done our mushrooms, we've done our rocks, we've pretty much done everything on the ground. Let's have a look at these lanterns. What time are we on? So we've got about 20 minutes left of the video, and we can definitely get one lantern done in that time, I should think. So it may be your homework to do the other lantern exactly the same. Now, I was thinking about the frame of this lantern being metal, and the Prismacolor metal colours, in fact most pencil crayons that are metallic are not great. They're quite dull, and I just don't like using the metallics. So if you have a gold gel pen, I would recommend colouring in the frame in gold gel pen. What I think I'm going to do is use a touch of paint, gold paint. So let's just get that out. So this video is just not as organised as any of the others. I'm sort of playing it by ear. I'm trying to find my paints which have gone missing. Here we go. So these are the paints I'm going to use. These are the Colori Fine Tech paints. They're absolutely amazing and the brightest metallic thing I've ever seen ever. So I'm going to be using those. I've got, let's pick a decent brush because we've got a very small area to do here. Let's see. Yeah, okay, so this should be okay, I think. Doorbell, give me a sec. Amazon delivery. Okay, so that's actually for another video I'm going to be doing, so awesome. Right, so what I'm going to do, obviously if you don't have these paints you can use your metallic Prismacolors, no problem. It's just me personally, I don't like them. So any metallic sort of pencil or pen or marker or paint or anything that you want to use that on here. So I need a little bit of water to activate these, obviously. So I'm just going to use my water brush to put a few dots of water on the pan, and then just going to wait for this to activate the paint. I'll probably put a little bit too much water on there, but we'll just be careful with it. Okay, so just colour your rim of the lantern solidly with whatever metallic product you're using. Now these paints are incredible, they're so shiny. I don't know whether you can see that yet on the video, but they are really shiny. Might have to lift it up to the light to show you at the end. So I'm using the edge of a flat brush to do this, purely because I think the normal sort of rounded brushes, the bristles go everywhere, whereas this flat one sort of seems to stay together. But as you know, I don't mind if we go over the lines anyway. One thing I always need to remember to do is start colouring from the opposite way that my hand is. So really I should be starting up here on the upper left hand side and working down to the lower right hand side. But as usual I've started on this side and gone that way, so I'm at smudge risk at the moment. So let me know what kind of supply you're using for these lanterns. I'm really interested to know if anyone's got any cool recommendations for metallic stuff. So you could use Jelly Roll, they have a really nice metallic pen. You could even just use Prismacolor normal colours like ochres and things like that to get the feeling of metal. I'm not too adept at that, so for the moment I'm just going to cheat a little bit and use metallic paints, but I will probably do a video in the future of how to make metals with Prismacolor pencils, or any pencils, different kinds of colours that you need to make them look realistic. If that's something that you would like to see, let me know and I will work on that. Try and make it as simple and hassle-free as possible. We don't want anything too scary. Well, I certainly don't anyway. So my hands are super shaky and I'm absolutely rubbish at doing anything that requires precision. So I'm not too sure how this is going to turn out, but it's all good. So probably won't get to do the other lantern in this video, so your homework for the next video is to do the other lantern in exactly the same way that you've done this one. So at the start of video 9, the other lantern will be done as well, if you want to do it in between times to catch up. So I'm going to also do the top bit as well, because that looks like it's sort of metallic chains and things like that. So if you are using paint and it all seems to merge into each other, you can leave it as it is and that's totally fine, or you can wait for it to dry and use sort of a pigment liner to put some lines back in. Just depends what you're comfortable with. If you don't like the merge style where the lines have disappeared, you can put those back in or you can leave it. So I've just noticed that with our pink background we didn't fill in the part between this chain here. So that could be something that you can also do. It's quite easy to miss parts, especially on super detailed pages like this that have got so much going on and so many overlapping things as well. It's difficult sometimes to figure out what's a leaf and what's a background and etc, etc. So as for this part, this sort of plate on the wall, I think I might do the edges of it gold, but the inside something different. So we haven't got too much gold on the page. I just wanted a nice little bit of shine, bit of glitter, bit of sparkle. And hopefully you can see now where the light is hitting it, just how shiny these paints are. I would recommend these paints to absolutely anyone who cared. They're incredible. They are a little bit pricey, but I have actually reviewed them on this channel, so if you want to go find that review, or if I can figure out how to put it in the corner of this video right now, I will. But yes, the paints are amazing. I have never seen anything so metallic and so shiny as these paints. And they only need a very tiny bit of water, so a little bit goes a really, really long way. So they're quite economically friendly as well in that way. So I've done rather roughly the edges of this lantern. I'm just looking to see if there's any other parts that I want to be gold. So I'm thinking just this little bit at the bottom here should be gold as well. And I think that's it. I think the other parts we're going to do again in pencil. So putting away the paints for now, going to do the other lantern in between this video and the next, so do feel free to go in and do that in the meantime while you're waiting for the next part. Now, as for the colour inside the lantern, we have to emulate this glow, and it's going to be strongest the closest to the candle that it is. So we're going to bring in our canary yellow and just fill in these two sections at either side. Now, what you can do if you want to, you can either colour the whole section in solidly, or just colour the centre of each section and leave a small white outline around the canary yellow. This just helps give it a slight bit more glow, because obviously light is naturally, you know, white, not yellow, so just helps give it a little bit more glow. Not sure whether that's apparent on camera, but I am leaving a bit of an outline around the yellow. So in the centre section, we're bringing again the yellow on the outline, but we really want white closest to the candle because it's the brightest part of the lantern. So a little bit of canary yellow all the way around the edge. And then just very gently hazing it into the centre. So the flame itself, let's get a touch of blue and just pop that right at the bottom of the flame. And then we can just colour the rest in our canary yellow, but also we'll get a little bit of orange as well above the blue. So let's zoom in so you can see that properly. Hopefully it's not too blurred. I've zoomed in to the max, I think, but we have a little bit of blue at the bottom, a little bit of orange on top, sort of going upwards to follow the direction of the flame, and then all the way around the flame is the canary yellow. Now what you can do if you want is get your white pencil and just go around the flame itself. Let's just get that out to show you. So white pencil around the flame, making that canary yellow fade a little bit more. And then we're going to colour the candle with French grey 50% and 20%. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to colour this side of the candle in a sort of L shape. I will be zooming back out in a minute, so apologies for the clarity of the video. And then with the 20%, colouring the rest of the candle and making the darker colour merge and look blended. So it again looks like this shadow on the candle. So nothing looks very good when it's really zoomed in. So let's zoom out and just check that out. So you can see that it looks really nice, it's effective. Again, there's that word. We have a shadow on our candlestick, we have the very light touches of blue and orange inside the flame, and then we have the white glow around the actual flame itself. So you can always make that white even sort of thicker, even bigger section of white. It's totally up to you. And you can even go over the canary yellow on either side with the white pencil, just to soften the colour a little bit. So I'm thinking these lanterns should be purple. Purple and gold is a really nice rich combination, and I think that it will go well against the background, and it will just look really opulent and very posh and expensive. So let's get some purples out. So I might even go with the purple that we picked earlier because I think that's a really nice deep purple. So we had violet, we had Parma violet. I think just those two colours, because I really don't want to go too light with this. I want it to be really deep and rich. So violet and Parma violet. So let's start with violet on the edge of this section here that has sort of holes in it, cutouts. And do both sides of that, grading into the middle. Now obviously you can colour your page, your lanterns, anything in any colour that you want. You don't have to follow my colour scheme if you don't want to. Obviously this is a colour along and that's what most people do, but if you're really unhappy with a colour that I've chosen or anything like that, just do your thing. I really want to see everyone's pictures, whether you've followed these exactly or you've gone your own way, so don't worry about doing that. It's your book, it's your page, you've got to be happy at the end of the day. So once you've done sort of outer edges in that deep violet, we'll come in with our Parma violet and bring it again into the middle, but not all the way. So you've still got a white space in the middle. Now we're going to get our white pencil and sort of drag the edges of that Parma violet together into the centre. And that just gives us a really nice little shine, because this does look like a curved surface to me. So you should have something that looks like that. Now if you have too many white marks and it looks a little bit streaky, you can go back in with your Parma violet very, very lightly and just do a touch of colour over there, just to make it look a little bit more seamless. And again, bring in the violet on the edges to raise the contrast, because your Parma violet might have bleached the violet out a little bit when you were blending over it. So I'm absolutely loving that so far. Just touching it up. And we're going to do pretty much the same all over this lantern. So edges in the darkest colour, going in to the lightest. So on camera that looks a bit of a mess. I think it might be the light shining down, because I've got an overhead light and it's just making the purple look really weird. But it is nicely blended, believe. Trust. It's one of those chavvy phrases, isn't it? Trust. I don't know whether in America you have chavs or what you call them, but basically chavs are British teenagers who you might call a waste of space. And I don't mean, you know, I don't mean to be awful or anything like that, but they're the ones that cause damage and delinquency and, you know, just cause trouble. And they think they're really cool and they all smoke and they hang around and terrorise people, etc, etc. So we have a lot of chavs around my area. I think they're pretty much in every British town, to be honest. And I don't know what the sort of American equivalent is, or the Australian equivalent, wherever you're from, but louts basically. And for once, I'm not worried about upsetting or offending anybody, because I really don't care. I've had that much trouble with teenagers who just don't give a crap, that I really don't care about offending anybody on that point. We've had all sorts of vandalism and things in the past and ongoing, so hopefully that's not the case for everyone. So let's see if I can get a decent sort of light on this so you can see. But it looks pretty good. Again, if you're worried about how much white is there and you don't want to leave that much, you can come in with your Parma Violet and, you know, fill it out a little bit more. Very difficult to do on these tiny weeny sections. Now I'm thinking that these sections at the top of the lamp are glass windows, the same as we did on the edges here. So let's just follow our same pattern. Let's get our canary yellow and leave the white border in the edge to give that look of a glow. So super simple step. Again, with your white, you might want to just clean it if it's got any purple left on it. You can just go around and fade that a little bit more. So super simple, glowy sort of effect. So I think now we will do our top bit, purple, and we're going to go from darker in the centre of each of these sections. You don't have to do them individually, you can just scrub around like I'm doing to save time. Just try and follow the curve of each section so it looks a little bit more realistic than going in just straight lines all the way around. So you should have something that looks a little bit feathery, looks like that. Nice and deep in the centre. Don't want to lose the depth of the richness and the colour. And then with the Parma Violet, blending into what we've just put down. With the outside, again leaving a border for the white pencil. Now the Parma Violet might completely obliterate any of the violet sort of curved lines that you've left, so you may need to go back in and add a bit more violet. Please also don't forget to leave any questions you might have for me, whether they're colouring related or, you know, personally related, whatever. Leave them in the comments, because it does give me something to talk about, and it just gets rid of any sort of silences, and I don't have to sit here thinking, right, what do I say now to fill up this silence? So please do leave me any questions, anything you're curious about, anything you want to know about me, within reason. Anything you want to know about colouring or what have you. As you know, I love talking about TV and film and movies and things like that, so TV chatter is always great for me as well. I'm one of these people that watches a film and then wants to talk through it and analyse it and break it down with whoever. My husband's not like that, so I don't usually get the chance to do that apart from online. So anything like that, if you want me to chat about anything, just let me know. It really does help. So as you can see, I'm just going around this with the white. It doesn't look great at the moment, but we are going to do a little bit more blending. Now if you wanted to go ahead and do the purple colouring first and the yellow before you do your gold metallic outline, that's totally up to you. Obviously I've done the gold first because the paint's quite thick, so my pencils don't really make much of a difference to it if they go into it, but it's totally up to you, whatever you feel best doing. You might want to do the purple first and then do the gold after, because sometimes the purple can go into the lines, over the lines, and then you can use your gold to go over it and hide those mistakes. So I think I'm pretty much happy with how that looks. Just doing a bit more touching up here and there. And we are over time, so very quickly I'm going to get a dark red. We've got this Scarlet Lake, and I'm going to colour these cutouts in red, and that's because I want them to look like jewels, like little rubies that are inset into the purple lantern. There we go, very, very quick and simple. And for this little bit that we've got left, these sort of circle shapes that go all the way across, what you could do, because there's not any purple around there, so we really want to tie it all in together, is make those C shapes with your violet, sharpen your pencils for this bit because it's really, really small and intricate. So you're making those C shapes like we did on the pebbles on the left hand side of all of these circles. So you've got something that looks a little bit like that, and then use your Parma violet to just fill in, or you could even just use the white. I'm just going to use a bit of Parma violet on the outer edge circles, and then bring in the white on these inner ones. See if we can get a shine, or the illusion of a shine anyways. So difficult to do these really tiny areas. You know what, I'm just going to put some Parma violet over that because it's not working out how I wanted it to. So I'm pretty cool with how that has turned out. So that is the page in its entirety. So today we did the ink drops on the ground. We also did the mushrooms, then we did the pebbles, and then we moved on to the lanterns. Now, as I said, please do the other lantern for the next video because that's what I'm going to be doing in the meantime. And then we will move on to the centre. We're going to do Ivy, we're going to do the background of the Wonder Room, and we're going to do the door. So see you again on the next part. Don't forget to do your homework. There's that lovely shiny gold paint, and I'll see you on part 9.